and welcome to week 2 of our UK accountability group. Wow, I'm so happy to see that everybody is actually attending today. I heard through the grapevine that today was a special holiday in the UK, and so it's always really great to see people demonstrating their level of commitment when they show up on days like this. Actually, historically, when we run 90-day fast tracker contests, we typically launch them on our Memorial Day or some other day that's always ends up being a holiday weekend. And it's always really great to see people just make time for that. So I appreciate that you're all here. And also excited that you are all showing up, even though there was kind of a hiccup in the registration. So just as a little FYI, when I set up the webinar the first time, I set it up as a sequence, no, as a series. And when you set up a series, the attendee needs to apparently register before every single webinar. So what I did was I canceled that and I set it up a second way as a sequence, which is you only have to register once, and then you're going to get notifications to remind you about the upcoming sessions. So I just manually went in and re-registered all of you guys so you wouldn't have to deal with that. So thank you so much for that. So tonight's session is all about communication skills when you're talking with your prospects. And so a lot of the reason why some people are, more successful than others with selling websites or building their own franchise, it really boils down to how they're communicating with their prospects. And this is true for whether whether we're talking about, again, a website prospect or an unfranchised prospect, but it comes down to a number of things, but mostly it comes down to your belief. Are you communicating strongly or are you communicating in a meek manner? And so, what we're going to do today is we're going to talk about a couple of things that help improve our communication skills because we can tell you until we're blue in the face to talk to your prospects, but if we don't address the how to, the nuts and bolts of the situation, then, it doesn't really matter. But mostly we're going to talk about being a clear communicator with regard to what do you do and what do you want your prospect to do. And so when we get to that part of the session tonight, I really think that that's going to be the most helpful, the most impactful for you in this upcoming week, having that clear close and that sense of clarity. But before I do that, I just want to make an announcement that, it started to get a little bit complicated. People were, not available for the session and wanting recorded webinars, or someone didn't get the handbook. So I just built a quick page on the 411 site. So if you go to mawc411.com and it's /UK activity report.jsp, it's available under this Getting Started tab. You will be brought to this page. It's a UK group page. On this page, on the left-hand side, there's this link. When you scroll over that, you click it. It's the link to register for this webinar series. So if you've got anybody that wants to register themselves, you can send them this link. The handbook with all of the exercises that we are going to be referencing in this series is also available to download. Just please remember that the handbook is from the Web Volume Contest, so it is not unique to this group yet. It's just that we are giving you guys, like, basically other people had to pay to register for that training, and we're just doing a special training session with the UK group to get you guys launched. So the dates in there might be different, but the exercises and the content is all completely relevant. Below that is a link to our YouTube channel that we created a playlist for the UK recorded webinars. So tonight's session um, is being recorded and will be available on our YouTube channel. All you've got to do is click on this recorded webinars link and it will take you there. Also on this page is where you need to submit your weekly results. So when you go to the 411 site every Friday by midnight, you're going to go ahead and submit your results by coming here and just answering the questions. It's real simple questions. One thing I want to let you guys know is that it's really important that you do this step. If you don't show there's really two things that you must do every week. You must submit your results and you must show up on Mondays. If you stop doing those things, that's when you fall into that danger zone where you stop doing it altogether. And then, in a couple of weeks, we won't ever hear from you again. So please, I'm just encouraging you to stay engaged. even if you haven't had the greatest of first weeks. Typically, most people start the contest or they start an accountability group, and their first week is all organization and they haven't actually talked to anybody yet. And so, if that is the situation for yourself, try not to be discouraged by that. However, try to make sure that this week, in week two, you're being very intentional about completing the exercises that I'm giving you and about actually talking to your Web Center prospects. So, with that being said, I am posting in the UK secret group. And I'm just posting a copy of the presentation along with what the challenge of the week is. And once you've done that challenge of the week, or if you have any questions about that challenge of the week, just please comment on that post so that I can, keep track of it. I was going to set up a UK Web Centers group, but I just feel like we have so many groups that we're all a part of. And, you guys being the pioneers of the Web Center program in the UK, I thought it would be actually more beneficial for the market country if we did all of our initial communicating in the market country's secret group so everybody could see what was going on and the kinds of questions that were happening. So please make sure that you're doing that. So we're going to talk about relationship selling. All right, because I think that a lot of people, initially when you start thinking about how you want to approach your website prospects or your business owners on your names list, you start thinking about cold calls and scripts and different things, or old school antiquated selling techniques that used to work really, really well about 10 to 15 years ago, but that just don't work the same anymore. And so, there's a new trend or a new standard in the industry of selling, and it's all built around this idea that the relationships matter. And so, you can sell a website, or you can create a customer for life. You can personally sponsor somebody, or you can create a business partner for life. And really, the difference between the two is, do you have a relationship or not? Does that customer or that business partner have stock in you or not? Right? And so these are the questions that we want to ask ourselves. Do we want to create a sale for today or a sale for life? Do we want more referrals? Do we want more happy customers? Do we want a more enjoyable process? And that's also very important. There is nothing enjoyable about a client that cancels a website, or somebody that you've personally sponsored that just falls off the face of the earth, that no longer is a business partner. That's not enjoyable for anybody. And, I'm not in the business of doing that. I don't have time. I don't have the bandwidth for that kind of stuff. And so I'm very committed to building lifelong customers and business relationships. And statistics show that strong customer relationships are what drives sales, sustainability, and growth. Not just sales, but also sustainability and growth. And so while I was teaching you guys last week about how important it was to ask questions and to identify needs so that you could provide a solution, and keeping it all about your prospect and less about you, and stop worrying about the script and just ask questions and learn about your prospect. All of those sales techniques are rooted in what is most successful today for selling. And they're all completely applicable to building your unfranchise as well. So, a couple of other important things to keep in mind if you're still not completely on board. Did you know that it costs 5 times as much money and an investment to create a new customer than it does to keep one? So just keep that in mind. It costs a lot more to create more new customers. And this is probably, I actually got this out of Forbes magazine, and this was really interesting. Loyal customers are not only a result of happy customers. Happy customers can always find another dealer solution, right? Because think about it, we've got the internet is just a completely saturated place, right? Customers have millions of options for everything that they want. They've got tons of options for anything, whether it's a lipstick or whether it's a website solution or whatever. And so if they're just, looking to be happy right now and, just whatever, then they're just going to go shopping for the next best thing at any given point or time. But if you want a loyal customer, then they need to be invested in you. You need to bring something to the table. They can't find another you when they go looking for other deals and options. And so if you want your customers to stay, then they need to have some sort of investment in you. They need to be interested in maintaining that connection to you. This way, when other deals or options come around, even if they're just silly little things that are not best for them in their best interest in the long term, they're not going to jump. They're going to stay with you. And I can tell you, out of the over 200 websites that I've personally sold, we have clients that are solicited every single day. I mean, gosh, they're solicited by every kind of marketing company you can imagine. And a lot of times, they'll send me an email or they'll pick up the phone and they'll call me and they'll say, hey, the Yellow Pages called me today and they mentioned that I need this and I don't have it. What do you think? Do you guys do that? And I'll say, yeah, actually, we do that. And she goes, oh, good. I'll call them back and let them know that I already have somebody for that. But that's the difference, because my customers know me, because I take the time to follow up with them and see how they're doing, and because I didn't pressure them into a sale when they weren't ready. I respected their timing. That's why they respect me and that's why they're loyal to me. And when other people call them and try to sell them stuff, they actually call me back. And so, yeah, that roofing company, did it take me 6 weeks to close the deal? Yeah, it did. But that was like 8 years ago, and they're still a customer and they're still invested in me and they're not going anywhere. Another important fact to keep in mind is that most people actually react negatively to high pressure sales, right? So just think about yourself. Even when you walk into a store and if a business owner says, or excuse me, a sales associate says to you, can I help you with something? Your initial knee jerk reaction is to say, no, I'm all set. You probably do need help with something, but because someone's asking you or trying to like get you to think of, something you just want to be left alone. You just want to go shop. It just happened to me actually. I was trying to get a couple of things. I only had about 10 minutes and the sales associate just kept following me around and like rattling off why I needed their credit card and why I needed to take advantage of this deal so I can get a hoodie for $20 if I purchase this other thing. And it was so irritating for me because I knew what I wanted. I was in the market for some items and I was looking around to find those items, but instead of just asking me or answering my questions, they were trying to sell me all of this other stuff that I didn't have the time for. I also, at no point during my experience there, expressed that I had some sort of need to fill. So she's really just sitting there trying to convince me I need to buy things that I didn't think or know or want. Um, so it was really irritating, and but that's sales, right? And so it's a good learning experience because it just reminds me that relationship selling is so important. It's so effective. You don't have to be that high pressure salesperson. Go out and try and convince people that they need what you have. If you can keep it about them and remember how you feel when you are high pressured sold, apply that knowledge, that experience to how you sell to other people so that you can make the process better. So, old school sales is all about delivering the strong sales pitch, right? In relationship selling, you don't have a strong sales pitch, you're just starting conversations. It's not about memorizing some strong sales pitch, right? In old school high pressure selling, rejection was just part of the process. You call through a leads list of 100 people and you might get 95 no's, but you're looking for those 5 yeses. That is a very miserable way to build any kind of a business. And actually, that is why the sales profession has the highest turnover rate of any profession that there is. In relationship selling, though, is the opposite. Rejection is a result of selling. And when you're focused on just conversations, you completely eliminate rejection because you're not selling them anything. You're just in the interest of identifying needs and having conversations. So if you're not high pressure selling anybody, then you're not going to be rejected. And the process itself is a better process. In high pressure selling, when you get an objection, you immediately have to overcome that objection, explain the value, explain why that objection makes no sense, right? That's the old school sales technique. In new school relationship selling, when you get an objection, rather than trying to explain away or tell them why they're wrong, what you want to do is discover what is the truth behind that objection in the first place, right? So, for example, if they say, well, I don't know, how much does it cost? Is it too expensive? Is really the question they're asking, right? The question isn't how much does it cost? The real question is almost 9 times out of 10, Can I afford it? And so you need to ask more questions to discover what is the truth behind that statement or that question. In high pressure old school, your goal is to close a sale. In new school, your goal is not to sell anything unless it's a good fit. And you discover if it's a good fit by asking very good, high quality questions. Because again, in old school, if you're just trying to close sales and you don't care if it's a good fit, then you're not creating customers for life. You're just making sales. That is not in anybody's best interest. In new school, if it's a good fit, you're creating a customer for life. The old school motto, you've all heard this, is always be closing. In new school, it's always be listening. High pressure sales versus no pressure, just solutions. And the old school technique there was a high focus on memorizing scripts, which is robotic, and people don't respond well to that. In new school relationship selling, the focus is on the prospect itself. So there's no script to memorize because all you're doing is asking questions and learning about your prospect, and just asking more questions so that you can eventually discover if it's a good fit and then make a solution. The solution being some sort of an appointment, whether that's an appointment for a 15-minute consultation or whether that's a full on website appointment with one of our product specialists. So, some things to assess your communication skills. The first thing is your attitude. Do you have a good attitude when you're talking to people? And first of all, I have to say I am completely in love with the UK. I mean, honestly, Ryan and I could live there, and we've talked about it. I think when we are ready to buy our second home, it will be there. We're in love with the people there too. You guys, there's so much. You guys are such a mature, um, and there's an advanced society. Just people are great, people are good people. You guys have been around for a lot longer than people in the US have been around, so I just feel like everything in the UK is more advanced. And so I get it. I get that you're not going to walk around and be overly enthusiastic and high fives like the guys in the picture, but being positive and friendly is pretty universal. It doesn't matter where you live in the world. People like to be around people that are friendly and enjoyable, right? Nobody likes to talk to people that are complainers or gossipers or have negative energy. So, smiling and making other people smile and making people feel important is a good thing to do, right? So don't complain. Try to make people feel important. Try to show them that they're important by listening to them. Another important thing is not to bash the competition. So if you have got a prospect who, is looking into Wix or WordPress or some other discount hosting provider, those are not great solutions. And we've done a ton of research on them, and what we offer and what they offer are two totally different things. Theirs is, they're not in it for the sale for life. They're just looking to create quantity, and they don't care if more than half of their website clients cancel by the end of the year, because they're just going to go attract a bunch of other people that think they're going to get the next best thing because they're so cheap, right? And we know that about them. But if you're talking to a prospect and they're talking about how they have a website with Wix or that they're looking at Wix, it's important to focus on the positive part of that statement instead of bashing the competition. So don't say, oh, well, that's a horrible company, blah, blah, blah. Instead, say, it's really great that you guys are thinking about having a good website. You're already a step ahead of everybody else. What made you look at Wix? Um, and have you looked into any other options? Right. And so instead of me saying, Wix was horrible, I complimented them for deciding to find a solution at all. And then I asked them, what about Wix did they like? And I also asked them, what other solutions have they looked into? I always want to end in a question because then that gives them permission to respond. Dress professionally and appropriately. If you're going out and you're meeting roofers or contractors or people that are not going to be dressed in, we call them monkey suits, but suits and ties, then you don't have to get dressed up in a suit and tie. Just look nice, show up, and have a nice business casual look going on, but just be appropriate. Your body language and your confidence matters. So, that all affects the way, your swag is, right? Are you confident that we can help them? Or do you look like you're nervous? Do you look apologetic? Or do you look strong? Do you look confident? These are all things to assess about yourself when you're talking to your website prospects. Show that you care and be considerate and empathize, right? So what you want to do is assess yourself in these two areas. Are you complimenting your prospects? Are you giving praise? Are you understanding their point of view and trying to relate to what they say? Or when they talk, are you trying to overcome what they say, right? Relating to somebody is always going to be 100 times more effective than, trying to overcome what they say. Are you learning about that prospect and showing interest in their business? Are you addressing their concerns or are you addressing your own agenda? Are you treating people like people or are you treating them just like a number on a list of names that you have to call? Are you being considerate of them? Are you on time? Are you showing that you respect their time by showing up when you're supposed to? Are you solving their problems or are you just trying to make a sale? Are you giving them the time that they need and require to consider their decision? That's probably one of the hardest parts of this process, right? And I'm sure you all have experienced this in building your own franchise, is that when people make a business decision, they need time to make a decision, an educated decision. And there's some time associated with that. With websites, it's not even about the money. I know that that we're talking about 900 to 2,000 pounds here, but it's not just about the money. It's about gaining the trust of your prospect and permission to help them market their business online, to help represent them online. And so we have to give them the time that they require to make that decision appropriately so that, again, they're making that decision with all of the information that they need and they feel good about it. And again, they're a customer for life. Are you helping them with their concerns? Are you connecting people? Are you helping them find the answers that they need? Are you empathizing with their challenges and, just being empathetic, right? These are all important things. Are you an active listener? Are you a person that asks a question? Are you someone that hears the response and responds accordingly? You don't worry about what you're going to say next because you're so focused on what they are saying. Are you easily distracted? Are you on your iPhone or some other device when you are talking to people, or are you making contact? Another very important thing, sometimes with the business and with web centers, we get so excited about what we have that we interrupt people, right? They start, kind of hinting at a need, and then we interrupt them to tell them about why our solution is so great, or why they need an appointment, or why they need to see the plan. And the problem is we've cut them off before they have an opportunity to completely tell us all of the ways that we can help. So it's important to let people finish speaking. And most importantly, be interested in them. Don't be that person that thinks they're super interesting where they tell, present, sell, lecture, talk about yourself the whole time, but rather be somebody that's interested, someone that listens, asks questions, that sells information, listens again, right? Talks about the prospect, not themselves. Um, Shares information based on what they heard, not what they're trying to, just to sell. And in reality, people don't want to be around people that talk about themselves. People want to be around people that care about them. And so when you're talking to your prospects, your ability to listen actively is critical for your success. It's, again, the blanket statement is we go out, we talk to prospects, we ask questions. This is the nuts and bolts of how to do that. And I really hope that you guys are going to apply these things this week when you talk to people. Another important tip is to create a sense of team or togetherness. So you want to change the relationship dynamic from I am selling you something to we can solve this together. So this week, I want you to eliminate the word I and replace it with we, because it's we. It's you and MA Web Centers and the client and the prospect, right? All of you guys are going to work together as a team to come up with a solution to solve a problem or to redevelop a website or to help them market their business better. We've helped thousands of small to medium sized business owners, and together I think we really can work and help you get XYZ, right? So if you change that dynamic to we and you make them feel like they're part of something, then they're going to be more inspired to want to work with you than to just buy from you. It's a completely different thing, and it's psychological, but it works. And lastly, and most importantly, is you need a sense of clarity. You need to be extremely clear in what you do and what you want them to do. And what I mean by that is after you've asked all these questions and you've identified that there is a solid need and that this is a good potential fit and you want to set up an appointment, there's going to be a time where you have to explain who you are, who MA Web Centers, and what you do. And that answer needs to be incredibly clear. It needs to be short. It needs to be sweet. Your body language needs to tell the person that you believe what you're saying. You need to make eye contact if you're in person, and you need to smile. And I mean that not just when you're talking face to face with somebody, but also when you're talking on the phone. If you're talking when you're on the phone with somebody, they can actually tell. I'm telling you, that it's been proven that people can tell if someone is smiling or if they're just kind of going through the motions. And the best way to answer with clarity is to just be truthful, right? So if this is your first experience with MA Web Centers, then your answer is really short and sweet. I work with a great company. It's not what I specialize in, but you know what? We've got a whole division of people that I think might be able to help you out with your problem. Let me get you an appointment. What works best for you, mornings or afternoons? And at that point, you're just using a referral technique, and it's completely clear. It feels organic. And because it feels organic, it communicates extremely well. The moment it doesn't feel organic, your communication level just plummets and your efficacy goes down as well. What do you want them to do? That's the next sense of clarity that you need. Do you want them to schedule an appointment? Do you want to make sure that the stage is set, that they know that they're going to be talking to a product specialist? Do you want them to get excited about a possible solution? Remember, you're not selling anything, you're just solving a problem. So you don't want to convolute your message with all these random details that don't matter. What you want to do is just set a clear appointment, and let them know who's going to be on it. Make sure it's a confirmed appointment, and make sure that you're very clear about what the next step should be. If you don't ask them to do an appointment, they're not going to do it. If you don't tell them that the product specialist is going to conduct your appointment, they're going to be confused when that product specialist does conduct the appointment. So you want to be extremely clear with how that part of the process will go as well. So, with that being said, we are in week 2. So, if you didn't complete your week 1 exercises last week, tack that on this week. It's not too late. You're not in a position where it's going to be too late to stay up to date with what's going on. So, just make sure that you go back and you look at week 1 and you complete your strategic planning and your names list. That's really important for your success. In addition, remember that that webinar was recorded and it's available if you go to mawc411.com and you click on getting started and then UK group. All of the information for this accountability group is right there. So review it if you need to. But this week, your exercises are all around assessing your communication skills and making sure that your answer to what you do is extremely clear. So you're going to assess your attitude, your sense of empathy, your consideration, your active listening skills, your nonverbal communication skills, your sense of team, your clarity. Give yourself a personal assessment around all of these areas and identify where do you think you do really well and where would you like to improve. And make that part of what you do this week. What do you do? Write your answer to what you do, and I want you to actually practice it in the mirror. Stand in front of your bathroom mirror and just say your answer a few times until it feels comfortable in your own skin. The more comfortable you feel speaking the answer, the more comfortable you will be when it comes time to talk to your prospects. Now, while you're doing this communication assessment, remember your daily operating procedures are to talk to one new website prospect every day. Talk to one new unfranchised prospect every day at a minimum. And then you're going to apply these communication skills to your daily goals. And that's all going to help you reach your goals that you set for yourself last week. Okay, so with that being said, I'm actually going to rewind back to the beginning here so I can show you the website one more time and encourage you guys to check this out. It's new and I think it's going to help us so that we can keep everything housed in one nice place. And with that being said, have a wonderful week. If anybody has any questions, I'm going to stay on the line and answer them.